What's up, Conquerors? Hope everybody is having a fantastic day today. I've got an exciting video for you here today. We are going to be doing the ultimate Golden Horde guide. We're covering everything Golden Horde. We're going to talk civilization bonuses, unique units, unique techs, which unique techs to prioritize, some basic build orders and how to branch out of those basic build orders, how to defend against the Dark Age rush, and anything else I come up with in between. So if you guys are excited to watch this video, please stay tuned, and if you watch it and you enjoy it, drop a like. If you learned something from it, subscribe to the channel, and let's get into the civilization bonuses. Alright, Conquerors, we're going to jump right into civilization bonuses, and stay with me because I gotta say, there's a lot of them. Now, when I started putting them all together in a list, I realized there's a lot of them, but they're all really interesting. So first I want to talk about the Golden Tent. Now, the Golden Tent is a unique landmark only available to the Golden Horde, and other than your town center, it's the only landmark that you can actually create. So you start with your primary town center, your first town center on the start of the game, and unlike Mongol, you cannot unpack your buildings. Now, you can place the Golden Tent in Dark Age and then age up to Feudal Age, and you'll have two options in the Golden Tent. And each time you age up to a new age, you'll have two options for age up. It's very similar to the mechanic for the Abbasid Dynasty and the Ayyubids, even though you have less choices when you age up. Now, there's a lot you can do with the Golden Tent other than just age up. The Golden Tent can actually produce military units. Generally, it can only produce the Khan and Torguud, which become available in the Feudal Age. And we'll talk more about the Khan and Torguud in the unique units section. Now, the other really special thing about the Golden Tent is there's a special interaction between the Golden Tent and Fortified Outposts, which are just the Golden Horde version of an outpost. There are several edicts that you can issue at the Golden Tent. And when you issue an edict, it actually causes the aura around these fortified outposts, which we'll talk more about later, to change. So for instance, when you start the game and you have the Golden Tent, every fortified outpost has an edict aura. And the default aura that the Golden Tent provides to these outposts is the production speed edict. And that provides a 20% increase to the production speed of the Golden Tent and military buildings within the influence of the Fortified Outpost. Now, you can also switch to the Defensive Aura Edict, which increases the health of units within a 12.5 tile radius of the Fortified Outpost by 10%. Now, those two edicts are just unlocked by default. Now, there are two edicts you can also research and then use. You have to buy these researches with stone, which we'll also talk about more later. You get stone from Ovoos. Now, there is the Kharash Edict, which requires unlock/research, where military buildings within the influence of a fortified outpost produce an additional Kharash whenever any unit is recruited. And then there's the Stockyard Edict, again requires unlock. You have to buy it with stone. Stockyards within the influence of the fortified outpost generate 1 gold every 6 seconds per villager working on it, for a maximum of 40 gold per minute at each outpost. So the Golden Tent is kind of the glue or the fabric, the main center of the Golden Horde society in this game. And you can only have one edict active at the same time. It's very important to note. So you can't have the Production Edict, Defensive Aura Edict, Kharash Edict, Stockyard Edict all active at the same time. You can only choose one of the four. And when you choose one of the four, these Falcons will shoot out to the Fortified Outposts on the map, and they'll change which edict is being set at the Fortified Outpost. So all the Fortified Outposts have the same edict. You can't do a different edict at each outpost. Now, for now, that's all for the Golden Tent, even though, since it's kind of interwoven in so many different parts of the Golden Horde civilization, we'll talk about it more later. The second civilization bonus for Golden Horde is the batch production. So essentially, when you go to produce a villager, trader, military unit, your units produce in batches of 2, though they take a lot more time to produce. So for example, you actually produce 2 villagers out of the main town center, but it takes 37 seconds to produce, where normally you would produce 1 villager in 20 seconds. Now there are certain units that you don't get batch production on, like scouts out of the town center, shamans, the Batu Khan. There's some unique units in there that you can't double produce. The next civilization bonus, which is unique to the Golden Horde, is the Stockyard. Stockyards are unique to the Golden Horde. No one else in the game has them. Everybody else has farms or pastures, but the Golden Horde has the Stockyard building. And it's a unique building, costing 250 food, where essentially 4 villagers can garrison, for lack of a better term, in the stockyard to gather from sheep carcasses and drop off food. Now, in some testing, I found that the base gather rate, if you have 4 villagers at a stockyard, is 160 food per minute. So if you have a villager in a stockyard, they're going to produce, without any upgrades, no wheelbarrow, no economic upgrades. 1 villager in a stockyard will produce about 40 food per minute, which really is pretty good for an unupgraded villager. The next civilization bonus is the Fortified Outpost. Now, the Fortified Outpost is basically just an outpost, right? Like you would have in any other civilization. But the Fortified Outpost is tankier by default. It costs more. But it also has the Edict aura we were talking about that comes from the Golden Tent. Now, Fortified Outposts don't have to be connected to the Golden Tent for this aura. You can put down a Fortified Outpost anywhere, and you'll see the orange aura around it. Now, based on what edict you have active at the Golden Tent, will depend on what aura your Fortified Outpost is providing. So it's either providing a production aura for military buildings, a defensive aura for units, the Kharash Edict aura where, let's say, when you make 2 Keshiks, a Kharash would pop out, or if you have stockyards around your Fortified Outpost near the Stockyard Edict, your villagers will produce extra gold, almost kind of like enclosures for the English. Now, the next civilization bonus, not many people talk about, and I'm not sure many people think about it with Golden Horde. They do have the Silk Road, which is the same trade bonus the Mongols get. And this is very unique. It's just for Golden Horde and Mongols. Traders generate plus 10% additional food, wood, and gold with 5, 10, and 15 active traders respectively. So basically, the more trades you have, the more effective it is. Next up, we have the Ovoo as the civilization bonus, which works quite differently than the Mongol Ovoos. Now, as the Golden Horde, you can have 1 Ovoo per age. So essentially, in Dark Age, you can have the maximum of 1 Ovoo. In Feudal Age, you can have a maximum of 2 Ovoos. Castle, 3 Ovoos. Imperial, 4 Ovoos. So pretty much each time you age up, you hit a new age, you want to throw down a new Ovoo. because a lot of the researches, which we'll get to, and a lot of the units for Golden Horde do cost stone, so it's very important that you get these Ovoos up as soon as possible and protect them to maximize the strength of your civilization. They also have the Scouting Falcon shared with the Mongols, so I'm sure many of you are familiar with. So your scouts can deploy the Scouting Falcon basically to provide vision in the surrounding area. It's very useful if you want to drop the Scouting Falcon early game on the opponent's TC to see what they're doing, or drop it over their wood line so your archers can shoot over the wood line. Now, the last civilization bonus I want to talk about is also shared with the Mongols. It's still a really important and really good, I think, civilization bonus. And it's specifically called the Great Dominion. And the Golden Horde forgoes the need, they don't have to build houses. And they begin the game with max population. So you're not spending any wood on houses like throughout the entire game, but that's especially useful early game. They have a stable that's available for them to build in the Dark Age. They can build early horsemen. And their town centers cost 850 wood, but they have no stone cost. So those are all the civilization bonuses for the Golden Horde. Lot of civilization bonuses for this civilization. It's quite a good civilization. And then let's get into the unique units for the civilization. So let's talk about the unique units that are available to the Golden Horde. And I gotta say, doing some research on these units, I'm really pretty excited about it because these are some really cool units. And let's start with the Batu Khan. So the Batu Khan is a heavy cavalry unit. It becomes available in feudal age for you to make from the golden tent and costs 140 stone. Now the Batu Khan is just, I would say, kind of like a semi-knight. You know, it's a pretty effective heavy cavalry unit. But the main purpose of the Batu Khan is, you know, maybe an early raid here or there, but not really to, you know, go toe-to-toe with the enemy army as much as provide auras and bonuses for your army as a whole. And you'll see that's kind of a constant theme with the Golden Horde units. Now, the two really important things about the Batu Khan is that the Batu Khan has something called the Khan War Cry. Now, when the Batu Khan is engaged in combat, almost kind of like the Mongol Khan, essentially a passive signal arrow will go up, which is the Khan War Cry. And depending on what age you're in, all of your units within a 5-tile radius will get a damage buff. So in feudal age, it's feudal and dark, well, just feudal age, it's 10%. Castle age, it's 20%. And then imperial age, it's actually 30%. So if your Khan's in combat, you'll see basically this signal arrow go off. That is the Khan War Cry. And once that's gone off, all of your units in that 5-tile radius are getting an increase in damage based upon the age, which is really quite considerable. Like, think about that in Castle Age or Feudal Age with your archers and Keshik, or in Imperial Age with your hand cannoneers. It's a pretty serious passive buff there. Now, secondly, there is a technology, and I'm kind of eating into my unique technology section here, but there's a unique technology of the Golden Horde tent called the debuff arrow. And if you research the debuff arrow, which is 300 stone, then your Khan can also shoot a debuff arrow. And so the player can basically select a spot. The Batu Khan will shoot an arrow at that location. And then for a 6.25 tile radius around the spot where the arrow landed, it's going to increase the damage taken by enemy units for 10 seconds. And it's a 10% increase in damage that enemy units will take. So the Khan can make quite a giant swing. Like, think about Imperial Age. Khan Warcry goes off, you've got plus 30% damage and then you shoot the debuff arrow and enemies are taking 10% more damage. It's kind of like a 40% swing in damage for about 10 seconds, let's say. Now, the second unit I want to talk about, because it's the Batu Khan support unit, is called the Torguud. So, the Torguud in batch production is 150 food, 200 stone, also a heavy cavalry unit. Now, the Torguud is a support unit for the Batu Khan. So, the Torguud's really, really tanky. They're a very tanky unit. They don't deal a lot of damage. They have low base damage. So they're good at tanking a front line. They're not really good at like working down or killing units. That's not really what they're for. But they're really good at tanking up damage, taking up TC fire, things like that. Now, if the Khan is damaged while a Torguud is within a 4-tile radius of the Khan, any damage taken by the Khan is redirected to the Torguud. Now, this is actually really important because if you're in combat with the Khan, you need Torguuds to keep the Khan alive, because you want your Khan fighting so that he's doing the Khan battle cry and all your units have increased damage. If it's just the Khan by himself, he can be worked down really fast. So the Torguuds need to be around him literally as his bodyguards to soak up the damage for him. Now, the Torguuds also have the same mechanic as Kipchak. If there is a unique technology, we'll talk about it in the unique technology section. If you research Sarai Lancers, the Torguuds will actually heal themselves just like Kipchak do for 4 hit points per enemy attack. So we'll also get to that in the unique technologies. Now, the next unit, also a support unit. You can see how a lot of the Golden Horde units really tend to focus around supporting each other. And a lot of it's like AoE support. So you really kind of all want these units in the same army together. You need a mixed army comp as Golden Horde. But we have the Kharash, which again, batch production costs 100 food. It's a very weak unit, really. It's not a unit that's meant to fight. It's a weak support unit. It's slow. It has low armor, low HP, low damage, slow. But what the Kharash does is any allied units within a 3.75 tile radius will get +1 armor. That's melee and ranged armor, which is really strong, actually, especially for your frontline units to get +1 ranged armor. So what you normally want to do is, have your army engage. You've got the Khan up front. He's going to shoot out a signal arrow. He's going to have Khan Warcry giving all your guys damage. The Torguuds are going to be taking up damage. You're going to have Kharash on the backside giving everybody armor to stay alive. Now, the next unique unit we've got is the Kipchak Archer. And the Kipchak Archer is, again, batch production. So 160 food, 140 wood. It is just a cavalry archer. So you could think about it like the Rus Horse Archer and the way that it shoots and then kites and shoots again. It does not shoot while moving like the Mangudai. Now, I'm not going to do a deep dive into the Kipchak right now. You kind of understand how cavalry archers work. But the Kipchaks do have a special passive ability, which is really cool. And they have what's basically just boiled down to as a bleed effect. So every single Kipchak attack inflicts a bleed effect on enemy units. Kind of like the poison archers for Mali. So this effect deals 2 damage per second for 6 seconds for a total of 12 additional damage and does not get blocked by armor. So the bleed goes straight through armor. It's armor piercing, essentially. The bleed effect doesn't stack, so, if you have 100 Kipchaks shoot a night, there's not 100 stacks of bleed. And then later on in the unique technologies, we'll talk about a really cool technology that they can get called the triple shot. Now, the last truly unique unit, and I'm skipping Kipchak here. Golden Horde also has access to the Kipchak, but that Mongol also has that unit, so it's not truly unique. The last truly unique unit is the Rus Tributary unit. And I'm not this is a difficult unit to explain. But you can begin getting this unit in the Castle Age. And Rus Tributaries can only be trained in batches from the Golden Horde tent. But there's a lot that goes into how much they cost. So the base cost for a Rus Tributary, they train in batches of 4, is 350 stone. But that's the most it can possibly cost at the beginning of Castle Age. So every 30 seconds, the cost of Rus Tributaries actually goes down by 10 stone. And every military building you have reduces the cost of Rus Tributaries by another 5 stone for a maximum of 70 stone discount. So eventually, if you just don't buy Rus Tributaries, then the discount will get low enough, the cost will reach 0, and then they just get deployed from the Golden Horde tent automatically. So normally I don't even build Rus Tributaries. I kind of just let the Golden Horde make them automatically over time. You don't get that many, but it's just like a nice little free perk. Now, if you actually deploy, like if you need units in the here and now, like you're not going to make it, you're not going to survive, and you need to deploy them, deploying Rus Tributaries manually, let's say you deploy a Rus Tributary, there's a 30-second cooldown, and then the cost is increased by 300 stone. So if you had like a ton of stone in the bank, you could technically print out Rus Tributaries every 30 seconds, but it's going to continually get more and more expensive by 300 stone, and there's a 30-second cooldown. So you kind of just let them pop out. They are a heavy infantry unit with a little bonus damage against cavalry. They're a little bit of a weird unit, stat-wise. But they are a good unit in your front line. And the last unique unit for the Golden Horde is, of course, the Kipchak, which you're all familiar with. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about the Kipchak. You see them on my YouTube channel all the time. And those are the unique units of the Golden Horde. Now let's get to the long list of unique technologies. Now let's take a look at the Golden Horde's unique technologies. This is a long list, so bear with me. There's some really cool unique technologies in here. And the one thing you need to keep, I'd say, cognizant of as we go through this list is most of these unique technologies cost stone. Now, one Ovoo unupgraded, there's some upgrades we'll talk about, but will provide 60 stone per minute. And so 4 unupgraded Ovoos provide 240 stone a minute. You have to keep that in mind when you see all of these different upgrades that use stone, which upgrades you're going to prioritize and when, because that's really important. Now, the first unique technology I'm going to start with is by far the most exciting one, which is the triple production. Now, triple production can be researched at the barracks, archery range, or stable. And starting the game, when you produce units out of the barracks, archery range, or stable, they produce in batches of 2. Now, if you research triple production, which costs 1,150 stone, so it's exorbitantly expensive, but it increases the production from 2 to 3, without a difference in training time or the cost of each batch. So you're essentially getting 3 units for the cost of 2 units once you've researched triple production. So at a barracks, if you produce a batch of spearmen, instead of, for the cost of 2 spearmen, you get 3 spearmen, or for the cost of 2 men-at-arms, you get 3 men-at-arms. If you produce Kipchak, if you've gotten the triple production upgrade at the stable, which is normally what I go for, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. Because at the stable, not only do you get triple production for horsemen and Kipchak, you also get it for Torguuds coming from the Golden Tent. So the most bang for your buck out of anywhere is always to get the triple production at your stable. And then you can make an absolute giant mass of Kipchak and Torguud. Now, of course, Torguud do cost stone. Now, triple production's probably the strongest, I would think, out of any of these techs, because it's incredibly powerful to be able to get 3 units for the cost of 2 units, especially more expensive units like Kipchak. Now let's move on to the Golden Tent. Now, we talked about the Golden Tent already and the edicts available. Now, 2 of the edicts have to be researched, which is the Kharash Edict and the Stockyard Edict. And we already talked about what these do, so I'm not going to harp on these edicts for too long. Now, the Khan debuff arrow, which I talked about with the Batu Khan earlier, can also be researched at the Golden Tent, and this can be researched in Feudal. And I guess just to make clear for the other technologies we talked about, triple production cannot be researched until Castle Age. The Kharash Edict cannot be researched until Castle Age. The Stockyard Edict cannot be researched until Imperial Age, and the debuff arrow can be researched in Feudal Age. Now, the debuff arrow costs about 300 stone, and that unlocks the ability for the Batu Khan to fire the arrow that makes enemies receive 10% more damage. Now, the next 2 upgrades I want to talk about are what I just consider eco upgrades, right? Again, both of these upgrades are going to cost stone, and they're both for the Stockyard. So the first one available in Feudal Age is Rotation Grazing, which increases the food gather rate of Stockyards by 10% and costs 200 stone. Quite effective at increasing the food gather rate for Stockyards, but does not work on herded sheep. So sheep not within the Stockyard do not get a bonus. Now, the next eco upgrade, which is just a step up in Castle Age, is called Overgrazing. So it increases food gather rate of Stockyards by an additional 10%, but it costs double the price for 400 stone. The next 2 upgrades are for the Ovoo, which are really, really important that you get these upgrades when you're playing the Golden Horde. The first one is the Ovoo Offering, which you can research at the Gur, and it increases stone gather rate of Ovoos by 30%, costing 100 wood and 250 gold. Now, I pretty much would think anytime you hit Castle Age, you want to get this upgrade, because most of your upgrades and a lot of your units cost stone. So anything you can get to get more stone, Ovoos, Ovoo upgrades, that's what you want to do. And the next upgrade is a step up again. The Ovoo Ceremony, available in Imperial Age, increases stone gather rate of Ovoos by 30% again. But this one's pretty expensive at 250 wood and 500 gold. The next 2 upgrades can both be researched at the Fortified Outpost and are both really interesting and unique upgrades. So there's the Earthen Core Walls, which increases Fortified Outposts and Palisade Fire Armor by 3 and health by 500. So it's basically a little defensive boost to your Palisade Walls and Fortified Outposts, because you can't build keeps or stone walls, but it does cost 500 stone, so it's really expensive. Unless you're floating a lot of stone, I don't really advise getting this. And same for the next one. These are kind of later tier upgrades. Glorious Charge, also available, both these available in Castle Age. Begin to charge at the Fortified Outpost. After a short timer, nearby units gain 50% move speed and take 15% less damage for 30 seconds. It's 400 stone. And maybe I need to be trying Glorious Charge out a bit more. It's kind of like an upgraded debuff arrow if you think about it. Like, if you got that and you went into a fight with the Khan, a Kharash, the debuff arrow, and Glorious Charge, your units are really pretty strong. Next up, we've got a research at the Monastery in Imperial Age. It's called Ovoo Tithe. So instead of Tithe Barns, it's kind of like Tithe Barns, not for relics, but for Ovoos. And so each Ovoo will generate 60 food, 60 wood, 10 gold per minute. And that research takes 500 stone. Next up, we've got the Blacksmith. It's increased supplies, so kind of like Military Academy, if you want to think about it that way. You can increase the production speed of military buildings by 50%. And that upgrade costs 400 stone. Next, in the barracks, we've got a unique upgrade for the armor and HP of the Kharash. And that's going to cost 300 stone. It's plus 2 armor and plus 25 HP for the Kharash. So I'm gonna be honest, it really doesn't do a whole lot for the Kharash. I mean, they are definitely tankier than 0 armor, right? Than 0 armor and low HP. But that one's kind of low down my priority list because I really just have them there as support units anyways, and hopefully they don't get picked off. Now, the archery range, this is a really nice technology. The triple shot, if you're going into Kipchak Archers, the triple shot is available in Castle Age for 800 stone. And Kipchak Archers fire an additional 2 arrows that deal 50% less damage. So they deal a lot less damage. And this is where I think the triple shot is really strong against unarmored units, but not very strong against armored units. Because if you're going up against something like a knight, the additional 2 arrows basically deal, no damage. Very negligible damage. But if you're going up against something like a spearman or an archer or a crossbow, those Kipchak 2 additional arrows deal a significant amount of damage. Next, in the stables, we've got a couple really important upgrades. We've got padded armor, which increases Torguud and horseman melee and ranged armor by plus 2 and health by 20. So if you're going really heavy into Torguuds or you're going really heavy into horsemen, padded armor is kind of a must long term. It's very expensive at 800 stone, but increasing your armor by 2 and your health by 20 makes the units significantly tankier. So, if you're going for like a horseman front line and then a lot of ranged units on the back, it's a really good upgrade. Or if you're going for just a pure Torguud front line, really good upgrade. Now next we've got the Sarai Lancers. I almost always call them Step Lancers like Mongol. But this is another upgrade in the stable for 400 stone. It increases Keshik regeneration by 1 hit point per attack and a 10% attack speed increase. Very similar to Step Lancers. Now, the cool thing about this upgrade is it also gives Torguuds plus 4 HP regen on hit, which makes Torguuds a lot more viable. And actually, if you get the padded armor plus the Step Lancers, Torguuds just become insanely tanky. They're already really tanky. That just puts them on a whole nother level. Now, the last technology I just never see anybody use. It's a cool idea, but not worth the stone normally, is the Beachead Ram. So it gives battering rams the ability to open side arrow slits and unleash a torrent of arrows from each unit in the hold for 400 stone. I'll be honest, I don't think I've ever used it. If anybody's used it, maybe comment, let me know what you guys think about that technology and how it works. Normally, what I'm putting as the best technologies for the Golden Horde and what I'm trying to prioritize is if I'm in Feudal and I have extra stone, I'm getting the Khan debuff arrow, and I'm potentially getting the Ovoo upgrade if I have a lot of Stockyards, like if it's a long Feudal. If I'm in Castle Age, I'm really trying to prioritize the triple production of units. That's huge. Even though it's very expensive, that's a huge upgrade if I'm in Castle Age. And then after that, I'm trying to... Of course, before that in Castle or Imperial, I'm trying to get the Ovoo upgrades for more stone. Then if I have enough stone in Castle, I'm trying to get triple production. And then after that, I'm either trying to get, because I like my Cavalry Mass, my padded armor for Torguud Horseman spam, or Sarai Lancers for my Keshik. And that's kind of how I've been prioritizing those. And then once you hit Imperial Age, I'm definitely trying to get Ovoo Tithes, because I'm going to have a lot of Ovoos. That's going to be extra res. I'm trying to get Ovoo Ceremony for more stone gather rate, and trying to make sure by that time that I've got my upgrades for my Stockyards. So the ones I normally don't prioritize or I don't find as useful, like Beachead Ram, I never get. Triple shot from Kipchak, I don't go into those as often as maybe I should, so that's probably useful for some, but I don't really use that. The upgrade for Kharash units usually don't get. The blacksmith upgrade for increased supplies, 50% production speed, is really good, but unless I've got a lot of extra stone laying around, I don't get it until late. Earthen core walls, I normally don't get till really late. The different edicts in the golden tent, I normally don't get till late. They're very good, but they're very expensive, and I'd rather get things like triple production. So that's kind of the rundown on technologies, priorities, how it all looks. Now, let's get to the fun part when we get into kind of a basic build order and an opener, what that looks like. We'll run through some games that I've played, you know, the first 5 to 10 minutes to kind of see how things play out. And that's what we've got for our unique technologies. Let me know if I missed something. What's up, Conkers? The first thing we're going to take a look at here is the basic build order for the Golden Horde. Now, it's important to understand your buildings do not move as Golden Horde like with Mongol. You also start with 5 villagers instead of 6. And what you really want to do here starting off is you're going to queue up villagers. First thing, you always queue up villagers. Then you're going to move your, tell your villagers to all go attack this sheep. You're going to move your sheep under your TC. And you're going to take one of your 5 villagers and tell him to go build the Ovoo. Now, how I like to play this, I assume other people play it like this. I don't really watch many other people play Golden Horde. But there's some different openers. But this is one I've used since Golden Horde came out. And you'll see I'm going to queue up, send all my guys to sheep. I'm going to pull my one guy to the Ovoo. And I'm going to send my scout out immediately to get sheep. And I'm just going to rally out to my sheep here. Now, my guy who goes and builds the Ovoo, what I like to do with him is I like to also send him to build the golden tent, build a gur on the gold, and then mine gold. That's just how I like playing this specifically. Now, if you think you're going to be Dark Age rushed, you can run your scout to the enemy base and drop the scouting falcon to see if they're making a barracks, but 2 Glock, I don't expect that, so I'm just doing the noob circle here to get some sheep. So you can see I just continually rally out on food until I get 8 villagers on food. That's what we want to do here. We want to rally 8 villagers to food. We want to get the sheep as close to under the town center as possible. That makes for efficient sheep gathering. And ideally, which I haven't done a great job of here, but we want to disperse it where we have 1 villager on each sheep. This villager is going to finish the golden tent, and he's going to move and start building the gur. Now that I've got 8 villagers on sheep, I'm going to rally my next 2 villagers to gold. And remember, these villagers come out in batches, right? So when I talk about 2 villagers, I'm really talking about 1 production of villager. So we've got 8 on food. You can see up here in the top left. Then we're going to send 2 to gold, which is our next villager batch. We're going to get a sheep drop off. And you might be asking, why do, you don't need the Ovoo right now. Why do you build it? Well, you start with 5 villagers. And the way I always think about it is the Ovoo's kind of like your 6th villager, right? So you start with 5 villagers. It's the same with Mongol. Mongol is always behind a villager. The Ovoo is kind of your 6th villager. It's really 1.5 villagers at this point to get 60 res a minute. And we're gathering this stone from the Ovoo so that when we age up, we can immediately make the Batu Khan. So this part varies a little bit, right? So you're going to go 8 on food, 3 on gold. That's the setup we've got here from what we did. Now, what I do from here is I rally quite a bit of units over to wood. Quite a bit of villagers. And you're going to get 2 villagers out here. I send both 2 villagers to wood. Now, you can split it where you send 1 to wood and 1 to food if you want to make sure you have plenty of food for your age up. Right? Because if you age up and you're trying to get another batch of villagers, the timing with how much food you have, it can run really close. Sometimes you have to force drop off. Sometimes you get some idle time from the TC. So if you want to do the 8 on food, 3 on gold, that's fine. If you end up wanting to do 9 on food just to make sure you have no TC idle time, that's also totally fine. If you do it perfectly right with the 8 villagers on food, you'll be fine. And you'll get batch of villagers out on time, you'll see what I'm talking about because I've clicked the age up, I've got 8 on food, and I'm going to need to queue up villagers for 100 food in 8 seconds. So you can kind of see how that timing's working, right? So I might get some idle time. I force drop off so I don't get any idle time, and then I get the next batch of villagers out. So this is where the build begins to vary, because let's talk about age ups first. So what I typically go for these days is a feudal pressure build that involves the Khan and Torguuds. Now you can take this 2 different ways from this point on out. You can focus on getting to Castle Age and trying to get triple production and relics, or you can focus on a feudal build with the Khan and Torguud and making archers and spears behind it and trying to pressure and defeat the enemy. So it's really up to you. I'm not saying that you have to do one way or another, or this one's going to win you all of the games and this one's going to lose you all the games. That's just not really how it works, right? Like, it depends what matchup you're in, how you like playing. I'm an aggressive player. I play aggressive. Some guys are Castle Age players. They want to go Castle. The only thing I don't really toy around here with the Golden Horde's the 2TC, but hell, you could try 2TC if you want to try 2TC, right? At the end of the day, you're playing the game for fun. Do what you think is going to be a good time. Now, this build specifically, I'm going to go feudal. So I'm going Khan and Torguuds. I'm going to make Batu Khan and Torguuds. Then I'm going to make infantry to support them and push. So what you'll see here is I actually, in early feudal / late dark age, I get enough gold for the double broadaxe and I just pull off gold. And anytime that you're aging up to feudal as Golden Horde, when you hit the age up, you basically immediately want to place an Ovoo and get your second Ovoo down to get built. Now the other age up you can go for going from dark age to feudal is building carts, which I used to always go building carts. I think it's still a really good age-up option. I just like Khan and Torguud better now. But it produces 2 building carts, which can be unpacked into a military building. And then Castle Age, you get another building cart. Imperial Age, you get another building cart, which is pretty nice in Castle Age because you can make it a prayer tent. So a lot of the time what I would do was I would age up with building carts, I would make the Batu Khan, Torguud, and I would throw down a barracks and an archery range. And then you have triple composition. But I've really started leaning into Khan and Torguuds because you can get more of them out, they're cheaper and tankier. With all that being said, that's a lot of information. Hopefully not overwhelming. But if you're new to Golden Horde, it probably is. So how you want to do your macro here, again, I'm not like a strict build order kind of guy. It's up to you and depending on what you want to do. Because if you're leaning towards Castle Age, regardless of feudal or castle, you get this second Ovoo when you hit feudal. But if you're leaning towards Castle Age, you need to take an approach that is going to get you there faster, right? So you're going to need more villagers on food, more villagers on gold, and probably a fortified outpost on your gold. Now, you'll still probably want to make the Batu Khan and 2 Torguuds just to get out there and harass and keep your opponent in his base. And anytime you're going Castle Age, you're trying to make just enough units to get to Castle so that you don't die, right? So, like, if you're going Castle, you'd keep guys on gold, you'd get a tower out here. You might even get your berries right now so that you can go back and get your sheep later so that you don't run out of food. So there's a lot of things you could do here if you were looking to go Castle Age. Now, since I'm just going feudal push, what I actually do here is I get enough for double broadaxe and I just take my guys off gold because I'm not going to be building gold units right now. I'm going to be making heavy cavalry with stone and food, and then I'm going to be making trash units, which are spearman archer, right? So right now, I'm about to have, 12 guys on wood. I'm building my second Ovoo as soon as I aged up. Batu Khan's coming out as soon as I aged up. And since I am low on food, I actually move out to berries. Ideally, you know, the deer's closer, you move out to deer instead. But I've got a lot of guys on wood right now, and now I'm going to start rallying back to food, right? Now, why do I have so many guys on wood early? And I should have already queued up my double broadaxe this game. I just forgot about it. Is because I want to be able to get a barracks and archery range down. And then if I run out of food, you know, I want to either have wood to move out to these flanks for deer boar, or put stockyards up in the base for my food income, and a tower if I need it for my gold later. But you can kind of see the key right now is checking out what the enemy's doing, making Khan Torguud. I'm going to keep rallying more and more guys. I got my 10 guys on wood, which is what I really like. I get my 10 guys on wood, I rally more to food. The 10 guys on wood allows me to get as many unit producers as I need. And if you get double broadaxe, which I haven't, but if you have 10 on wood, it's basically plus 1.5 villagers. And I got the gold for it, I just, you know, am a bad player and didn't get it. So, you can see here, Batu Khan, my guy's going for a fort. I'm just trying to cause a little bit of problems for him. Queuing up double broadaxe, I'm going to make archers. Normally, you'll see opponents, this guy plays a little weird this game, but you'll see opponents, if I'm going into heavy cavalry with Khan and Torguud, they'll make spearmen. And then you make archers. And your archers kill their spearmen. And then since you have archers, they'll make horsemen. And since they have horsemen, you throw down a barracks and you make spearmen. And the game kind of goes like that, right? So the Khan and Torguuds are here to harass and be a really strong front line, while your archers kind of tee off and deal damage at the back. Again, just trying to harass and idle eco with the Khan and Torguud play. You know, if you get villager kills, great. If you don't, like, not the end of the world. He's got a Torguud fort here, which is protecting his gold pretty efficiently. And so I thought he was going to go spear, so I actually went double range here. Normally I'll just go barracks range. You can see the barracks is coming up. Now, I put the Fortified Outpost here to get the production efficiency on these unit producers. So you can see, floating a bit of food right now. I get my first villager kill, but the Torguuds are quite expensive food-wise, so I'm trying to keep up good production of Torguuds. Decided not to go in on that villager, didn't want to lose a Torguud, but got a villager kill. Army's starting to come online. The reason he's playing like this is because his Torguud fort, he actually gets food income from the houses being around the Torguud fort. So, eventually what I'll do is, you know, I'll do a feudal all-in push and I beat this guy because I bring down his landmarks. But you kind of see the progression of, if you're going to play this feudal, this is how you can play it, right? And now that I've got my unit producers up, and I'm getting my blacksmith up, which I needed, I can send some guys back to gold. And I can start accruing gold. I can start getting the rest of my economic upgrades, any blacksmith upgrades I need, like iron undermesh, and then continue the feudal pressure, right? You can see I'm getting a Kharash out, because I want the Torguuds to have extra armor anytime they're being shot by the TC or fort. And then once I get iron undermesh with the Kharash, Torguud has +5 armor. Now, if you were doing castle like we talked about, you could have just kind of rolled with the Khan and Torguud from the golden tent, skipped the unit producers, gotten a bunch of golden food, and gone for the age up. And then as you aged up, you know, after you've clicked the age up, you're getting your economic upgrades, you're throwing down a blacksmith to get blacksmith upgrades, things like that. Now, if you were going to go Castle Age, there's 2 Castle Age upgrades. The first one is the Muscovy Yassuk, which the conquered Rus territories will provide larger shields to heavy infantry and cavalry, increasing ranged armor by 2, which is very strong. Wood will also be generated at rate of 200 per minute, but is reduced by 2 wood for each unit with a Rus shield. Now, generally, I recommend this age up if you have a lot of heavy units, or if you're just not going to get many relics, right? Like if the guys hit Castle Age before you and he's picking up relics, you generally want to go with Muscovy Yasik. If you're going to beat your guy to Castle Age by quite a bit and be able to get relics, Relic Ovoos is quite strong, because shamans with a relic can actually build an Ovoo, and it increases Ovoo stone gather rate. So if you're able to get relics, you can go Relic Ovoos, you can build a bunch of Ovoos in the back of your base, and get a lot of the unique technologies. Now, the last two build orders never go late game, right? So the game's so variable, it's hard to plan for that. But the two Imperial upgrades are Stone Armies, which is the Golden Tent can rapidly produce unique units at a discounted stone cost. Now, I normally don't go Stone Armies. I normally only go Stone Armies if I've gotten a lot of Ovoos from Relic Ovoos. Those two kind of go together. If I don't have a lot of stone floating, I normally go Yam Trade Network, which allows the Golden Tent will generate 10 gold every 10 seconds for each fortified outpost, up to a maximum of 6 outposts. So it's just a nice little gold trickle. So that's kind of the base Golden Horde build order. I did a pretty in-depth video on build orders that I'll link in the description as soon as Golden Horde came out with the previous DLC. So that's kind of the base build order, how you branch off it from there. And, you know, you're never going to have 15 minutes into the game, like, I need 15 villagers on this specific resource, right? Like, you kind of have to move your macro around at that point as needed. You know, if you're floating a lot of a resource, you take some villagers off that, disperse it to other resources. That's how you balance your macro. So hopefully that basic build order was helpful for you guys. I will link the Golden Horde build orders in the description, which was really in-depth build order video. And let's get to some other issues that Golden Horde has that I'd like to discuss in defending the Dark Age Rush. Next thing I want to talk about is defending the Dark Age Rush as Golden Horde. So, if you're playing Golden Horde, the chance you get in Dark Age Rush is pretty high, and I've got to say, Golden Horde's really pretty bad in Dark Age. Golden Horde's a civilization that generally needs a little more time to get online. They're not really built for that Dark Age. They're built a little differently, let's say. They're not Dark Age guys. So, I'm going to give you an example of a game where I get Dark Age Rush. Now, there's multiple ways to handle the Dark Age Rush, which we'll talk about. So, first and foremost, if you're playing civilizations that you think you might get Dark Age Rush by, you scout their base. That's rule number one. You always scout the enemy base. That's like House of Lancaster, Macedonian Dynasty, Mongol, sometimes HRE, Japan. Civilizations that you think may Dark Age Rush you, you should send a scout to the base. You should drop a scouting falcon on their base, and you should see what they're up to. Because that's how you know what you need to do. Because otherwise I'm doing my 8 on food, 3 on gold, I'm going to age up, everybody's happy. But I can't do that in this game, because he's going to make Dark Age units. So I come over here, I find the base, I drop the scouting falcon, I see that the spear is already out, I see the Varangian stronghold is out. And what do I do here? What I highly recommend you do as well. So, the golden tent costs 50 gold, so don't forget about that. But if you've already placed your golden tent, what you really want to do, you could even skip the Gur here. I decided to build the Gur, but you could really skip the Gur and just long distance mine 100 gold so that you have enough gold for your age up. So what I actually kind of recommend here is you just take 5 villagers, you send them out to the gold, you long distance mine 100 gold. Now you've got gold for your age up, and you didn't spend 50 wood on the Gur that is probably just going to get burned down. Now you can also build the Gur, it's just 50 wood at the end of the day. But we have 3 viable options to the Dark Age Rush. One is, ignore the Dark Age Rush. You get your gold, you go back, you get food, you age up, you make some archers, you kill the spears. They might kill your Ovoo in the meantime. Now, the second option is which I don't have in this video, is that you get your gold, you click the age up, and during your age up, when he's over here burning your Ovoo, you get enough wood, you throw down a barracks, you build spearmen, you push them off the Ovoo. Congratulations, you've won. Now the third option is basically the same thing as the second, but instead of barracks, you make a fortified outpost so that he cannot burn your Ovoo. And that's what I do in this game. Now there was a game in the Red Bull Wololo qualifiers, I think it was Anatan against Puppy Paw, where he got his gold early like I have, and then instead of building a fortified outpost, he just built a barracks, pushed the enemy spears off the Ovoo. I think that's probably the right move instead of the outpost, but it is just a preference of which one of those tactics would you like to take to defeat the Dark Age Rush. It's just a preference thing, right? So I did complete the Ovoo. I'm going to deposit all the gold I need, and then I'll just take these guys back home. So I don't need to know exactly where the spears are. I just saw them leaving the base, so I know they're over here somewhere, right? So unless they build a lot of spearmen, it does take a long time to burn the Ovoo down. There was a buff to how much HP the Ovoo was going to have. I'm just going to toggle to his player so I don't have to hear the alarm symbol go off. And so I actually stay on the gold a little longer. I generally recommend you just get to the 200 so you can age. I actually do this because I'm being greedy and I want to get my double broadaxe after my age up as well. So you can be a little greedy here. I don't really recommend that. But then I just take these guys back to get the wood, right? It's going to take them a long time to burn the Ovoo. I can get enough wood, and if I hadn't built a Gur, I'd have even more wood right now. But I can get enough wood for either a barracks or for a fortified outpost. I could have gone barracks here and been fine. But you can see Anatan plays this a little differently than I did. So what Anatan does instead of getting wood right now is he put all of his villagers on food. And he got as much food as possible and then clicked the age up, which I think is probably the right move. Now what I did was I put my guys on wood here. And then I'm just going to go drop a fortified outpost and push them off the Ovoo so that my Ovoo survives. So the main goal of the Macedonian Dark Age Rush is to push the Ovoo and hopefully burn it down. Or really any Dark Age Rush against Golden Horde. It does delay me, clearly. But essentially the Dark Age Rush has ended. And if I hadn't built the Gur out here, he wouldn't even get the Gur. So I can go out here, I can repair the Ovoo. I've already got my age up coming in. And that's a successful defense of the Dark Age Rush, fellas. Because right now, when I age up, I'm going to rally the Khan out across the map to his gold to attack. I'll throw down an archer range and push his spears back. And that, my friends, is a successfully defended Dark Age Rush playing as Golden Horde. Now, if I can find it, let's take a look at the second game where Anatan does this against Puppy Paw in pro play. Alright, so let's take a look at how Anatan handles this, and Anatan being the much better player than I, he's going Golden Horde against Japan. He actually doesn't even scout this, he just anticipates that a Dark Age Rush is coming. So he just says, hey, this guy's playing Japan at the pro level, I know he's going to Dark Age Rush me, so he sends some villagers out here early, you can see, to get the gold. He's got the Ovoo out on the side, so he's going to get his gold in plenty of time. And the gold's really the most important part. Like, you don't want the Ovoo to burn down, but if you can't get gold to age up, you're in a dead position. So you got to make sure you get your gold early here, that you can get the age up. You can actually see perfect timing. I'm sure he's played that timing before. So about 200 gold, almost exactly. And now Puppy Paw is going to go for the Ovoo. Anatan puts all of his villagers on food. And he just goes straight for the age up here to get the Khan and Torguuds just clicked off. So once he gets the Khan and Torguuds clicked, he pulls 8 villagers to wood and begins gathering wood for a barracks here. Instead of the fortified outpost, he actually snipes a spear with the town center. And so, just a few spears for Puppy Paw here. You know, sometimes you're going to play against players that are going to go a lot harder into spears here. You know, you go against a Mongol player or a House of Lancaster player or something like that, and they end up getting, you know, 5, 6, 8 spears in your base. So the important thing is you've already gotten your age up in, so you can make archers when you age up. And, you know, if you need to, you can make spearmen with some Kharash on the backside to give them the extra armor for support if you need to commit to a Dark Age fight. So, you know, the Ovoo's got a lot of HP, so it's really quite hard to burn down. And then we've got spearmen out from Anno Chad. He pushes the Dark Age Rush off. And again, he got enough gold to age up. Ovoo doesn't go down. You got a barracks up and units coming out. So that's how it looks with the barracks instead of the fortified outposts like I did. I think both really viable options here. And, I mean, even the age up here, since there were only 2 spearmen out to burn the Ovoo, the age up into archers probably would have been fine. Now, the other thing you can do, if the Ovoo is a little bit closer to your town center, is you can go out and you can repair the Ovoo so that the Ovoo doesn't burn down. So, you know, if it's right within the TC range, this Ovoo, you can go out, and if the spearmen come in, you garrison and shoot the spearmen, and your villager can repair the Ovoo, and then you don't really have to do the fortified outposts at all. But those are 2 really good examples of how you can defend the Dark Age Rush from civilizations. Obviously, it's going to be difficult for the Golden Horde to defend Dark Age Rush from certain civilizations like Mongol or House of Lancaster that are just really adept at the Dark Age Rush in general. So if you thought those tips about resisting the Dark Age Rush were helpful, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like, if you subscribe to the channel. And then let's move to the next section of the video. Lastly, I want to take a look at a typical Golden Horde game on Ranked Ladder, just so you guys have an example of what Golden Horde gameplay can kind of look like. So, it can either have a more protracted feudal or it could have a fast castle. I don't have an example of a fast castle on me right now since I've been doing some feudal myself recently. So I've got a game here, Golden Horde against Delhi Sultanate. I'm of course playing in blue and the enemy playing in red. And I'll speed through the beginning a bit here, but you see the build developing as I talked about. So we sent all of our villagers to sheep, rallied our villagers to sheep, and then had a villager build the Ovoo, Golden Tent, and Gur. We get 8 on sheep, and then rally out to the gold, drop off the sheep, get them as close to under the town center as humanly possible. And now what I like doing is just rallying out to wood here, right? Now we know the Delhi Sultanate can be really aggressive in Feudal Age, so you always have to keep in mind when you're playing Golden Horde, or any civilization for that matter, the matchups matter, right? You know, if you're playing against French, you know a knight's going to come at you early. You're going to need some spears. If you're playing against China, they might be going pro scouts, or they might be going pro scouts into castle. You know, there's some civilizations, like if you're playing English, you'll scout their stone to see if they're going 2TC, and they're not going to pressure you as much early. So it's very important that you scout your opponents over here, which I've done. I see he's going up with the Dome of Faith. And for instance, Delhi with this matchup, and you can see I've actually, same thing I did in the earlier guide. You don't have to do this. This is just what I've been doing because I've been going feudal pressure. Is I actually got my 100 gold for the double broadaxe and took those gold villagers off gold and sent them to wood, so that I could get my Ovoo and unit producers up quickly here. So I'm going to go open with the Khan and Torguud. I don't want to get raided by any Ghazi raiders, so I'm throwing down an easy wall here, getting my double broadaxe and a barracks down because I'm expecting raids. And so trying to do a little raiding with the Batu Khan here, but get pushed back by the Ghazi Raiders. Just trying to do some raiding with the Khan and Torguuds, but I realized he had too much mass, and they can always go back and heal up their mass, right? So, in this matchup specifically, what we need to kind of look at and take into account, is he going full feudal? Is he doing sacred sites in the castle? What can I do to prevent the sacred sites? So I'm trying to get some military up to prevent his sacred sites here. I was going to be low on food, so I actually went into an early stockyard here, and then just moved a few guys over to gold to get some gold for my upgrades now that I've got some unit producers down, right? So the main goal right now is I'm going to make a lot of spears because he's going Ghazi. And if I see him moving into archers, then I can start making a different type of unit. So, chasing me around, trying to get him in a little spear trap, but not able to pick anything off. So you kind of see the basic flow of the game here, right? And as this flow of the game progresses, you can either decide like, hey, I have enough units, I'll save up and I'll go up to Castle Age. Or, hey, I'm going to keep making units and try to make something happen in feudal. I'm the kind of guy that always ends up making more units. But a lot of the better players, they'll kind of gauge, hey, I have enough time right now, I can get up to Castle Age. Or at least click it up and build some units during the age up. So those are always things to think about. I'm walling off just specifically because I know he wants to get in here and raid me with the Ghazi Raiders. So I've got some units trying to protect my wallers. He actually does a really nice job here of distracting me with this raid where I pull my spears. And then he brings his Ghazis from the other side while I'm getting my walls up. So first villager kill actually goes to him. Nice little raid. That's why I'm getting my walls. And more stockyards going up in the base. So you have two options really for food. One is you identify where your deer packs are on the map. This is kind of... If you're going feudal or castle, this is really kind of applicable because you're going to run out of food in early castle anyways. So you identify where your food is and you get fortified outposts and army out here to defend your guys while you get deer, or you go into stockyards. Both viable options. You just kind of need to be aware that deer are a better short-term solution. Stockyards are a better long-term solution. Sometimes I go into stockyards when I'm not confident of being able to have presence on the map to defend my deer. And so he's raiding me with Ghazis. I don't even see many archers or spears at this point. So I try to just go ahead and move out and deny some of these sacred sites from going up. Actually get a nice little hit on some of these scholars. I kill several scholars, which is really nice for me. He retreats. He decides he does not have enough spears. And then he goes for a raid with the Ghazi Raiders since I'm out on the map. But I am walled up here, so no counter raid can really happen at this point. I'm trying to do a raid on his top side. So if you are going for long feudal, Iron Undermesh and Steeled Arrow both going to be really important upgrades for you. And a lot of the time what I'll do, if I have too much wood macro, which I do in this situation, that's a common issue for me, I'll select 4 villagers, and then I'll just go build a stockyard, right? So if I'm floating a lot of wood, you can either build production buildings, or you can build stockyards. Or you can come out here and build a bunch of towers and get the deer. So, you know, trying to do a little raiding with the Khan and Torguud. Not really finding much. He's got a tower up here. And I see all the Ghazis behind me. So move the spears back home to defend, and I actually put up a tower here just for some vision and extra defense. Both of us playing a pretty long feudal here, which you don't see very often, and you know, I know he's got a ton of units at this point. You can actually see he's got a significant amount of more units than I do. 63 to 36, which is kind of like typical Delhi feudal. They get this big mass, they take the sites, but I did kill several scholars, which was pretty good for me. So he's definitely thinking about pushing at this point, which means I can't be out here for deer. I don't have the military power, and the stockyards were a good choice in this situation. Now, if you have the military power, it's probably better to get the deer first. So I know I'm going to have to defend here. He's actually got a very, very large army, so normally what you want to do is, if they've got a bigger, stronger army than you, you try to use the defensive structures the best you can. Now, I did realize here that his scholars weren't out in this battle to help him, and this was probably the best fight I was going to get against him before his mass got even bigger. And I've got, unit producers rallying out units, so I've got defender's advantage. So I decided to actually take a fight here, which is a very dangerous fight against this mass. But you try to get the cavalry on the archers. You try to get the spearmen on the Ghazi. I've got you can see the Batu Khan's damage aura has gone off. So all my units are actually dealing more damage than they typically do. And he decides to retreat. Took quite a beating there. His military count's high, but it does count the scholars. And without the scholars, it's a lot more difficult for him. So, took a really good fight there. I've gotten pretty much all of my upgrades that are needed. I don't have archers, so I haven't gotten steeled arrow. He's gotten all of his upgrades since he's playing Delhi. Now that I've taken a good fight, I can take a bit of map control, try to decap the sites, and you could even still move out for deer at this point if you would like. And at this point, I start thinking more about castle. Like, I'm going to get out some units here and then try to think about, after winning a fight, I've got a little more leeway to go castle. So I tried to push on him a little bit. I thought I might have a bigger military advantage than I did, but didn't quite have the military advantage I wanted here, and he had a lot of archers on the backside to hit my spears. So you can see he's kind of thinking the same thing. He's thinking about an age up. And what I like to do if I'm trying to buy time for my age up is I like taking my cavalry and trying to go raid. I lost him on the map. So I like taking my cavalry, trying to go raid resources on the map. I'll send the infantry home to defend a lot of the time. And I'll posture with my cavalry in an aggressive posture to try to raid him. I do notice him going pro scouts, so I actually end up moving some spears over there to deny that. He was trying to steal my deer. He was, for a bit, successfully stealing my deer, so he's aging up. He's trying to do the same thing. You raid a little bit to try to buy yourself some time for castle age. And you can see he's going mostly infantry comp now. I'm able to get a nice little hit from the spears on the Ghazis again. A lot of text coming in for him. Actually cleaned up all the Ghazis. A lot of attack symbols going off right now. And you can kind of see how this plays, right? Now I'm going to be in Castle Age. I did go Muscovy Yasuk. Again, if you're behind on the Castle Age up, which I knew I would be, 1, because I'm Golden Horde, 2, because I've stayed in Feudal probably a lot too long, it's better to go Muscovy Yasuk, because I'm probably not getting many relics anyways, right? Like, he's going to get the relics for the most part. Should have done a better job of denying them. But Muscovy Yasuk, he's got a lot of archers, I know, so it's going to make the Kipchak even stronger against range. And he's building up a massive spear mass. I did see that, and he did a good job protecting these relics. So I started throwing down archery ranges. I threw down several. Now, it would be better if I had, maybe a tower here and put the military buildings around the tower for the production bonus. I didn't do a good job of that. I have the Stockyards set up for the Fortified Outpost later on, but it is better to get an outpost down in the middle of your military buildings right now. So, trying to do some raids still on the backside with 2 cavalry splits. And building a lot of archers. I know he's got a lot of spears, right? Trying to decap sites best I can as well. And looks like he, this is also very typical in gameplay. If you're already in castle and getting your upgrades and the opponent ages up, normally you'll try to make a push and beat them before they get their veteran seeds, but my veteran seeds are coming in quickly. So he's doing a great job of getting the relics. I didn't do a good job of denying them. So I know he's got a lot of spearmen and an elephant. I see that, so I'm trying to just distract him here, maybe pick off some reinforcements before he goes for the base, and get my infantry back to the base in time. So I'm trying to get all the units back to group them and then get a lot of crossbows up, because I see the elephant, and you need crossbows on the elephant. So right now we have the Khan coming in, and so we're going to have the... I forget the exact name of it, but the Khan damage bonus once he gets into combat. We've got some Kharash back here for the +1 armor. I don't quite have the debuff arrow, which I should have already gotten it. But the debuff arrow is going to come in, and so we kind of want all of those to work together in this fight, right? So best thing you can do, again, he's got a much bigger army. Best thing you can do is take the fight within your defensive structures. It sucks that you have to garrison up. But you garrison up, you know, you try to get the town center to pick down some of the unarmored units. If you need to move units out to different resources, like, you can always try to run them. Unfortunately, I have nothing back here, but gold's a great example. If you pressure this, I just run outside to the next gold. So, you know, you try to take the hold here the best you can. I tried to wait on all my veteran Cs to come in before I take a fight. You know, there's a lot of spearmen, so... trying to get the archers to work down all of the spearmen before I take the fight. And now I've got the debuff arrow in, so I cast the debuff arrow and go ahead and try to get into the fight here. Now, I've worked down enough of his spears that I can now fight with the Kipchak. I feel more comfortable doing that. And so I've got enough Kipchak. I broke his front line of spears. If you don't have crossbows in the fight, like I didn't have enough, it's best to just ignore the elephant and beat the other units, then take the elephant. So, you know, I held there. I lost some villagers, but it wasn't catastrophic by any means. I've got some spears protecting the deer just in case he tries to pro-scout it again. And should have gotten the Ovoo upgrade a bit ago, but was struggling on resources. So getting increased Ovoo gather rate, that's going to let me get... more Ovoo/stone technologies, because what you really want to get is the triple production from the stable. Now, sometimes I'll go barracks or archer range. So, deny to keep out here. And I did see that he was starting to go siege. So, good call by him. He sees I'm going like pretty heavy range, so he decides to go with mangonels there. And right now, just making a lot of units. A lot of armored units. So, I saw he was going elephants. So, I'm going Kipchak crossbow right now, which is an expensive comp. Trying to mix in some men-at-arms at the front as well to deal with the spears a bit. Was trying to find some raiding targets here. He's pretty walled in pretty effectively. And doing the Delhi thing where they build a lot of keeps at this point in the game, right? So... what I like doing at this point in the game, quick swig of water. At this point in the mid-game, what I really like doing, and sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't, is getting up these long walls to try to stop enemy raids. So I kind of already had, this is like the onion layer, right? I kind of already had the basic palisades here. But now I'm going to expand out to more resources. I know I'm going to need more wood, possibly food, possibly even gold. You're going to see me start expanding out these walls, right? And even later on, I'll expand them out again if the game goes late. So I like getting up these cross-map walls. They are bold. They are a bit dangerous, but they keep you from getting surprised by cavalry. You know, the pros min-max. They don't always use walls, but those of us that aren't as good, walls really are quite important. So, trying to do some raiding with the cavalry, but you can see I really haven't found much good raiding. I'm in here again with the Kipchak. And I think I delete these guys. I just didn't want to get them converted. So, you know, he's doing a good job of base defense. Got a few villager picks, but nothing crazy. I actually go for capturing sacred sites here. And my triple production finally coming in, so... now that I've gotten triple production, there's a lot you can do. You can get Sarai Lancers. You can get the efficient production. You can even get some of the Edicts. So a lot you can do now. And I actually age up. This is a bit greedy. I don't normally go to Imp. But I felt like I could defend, and I wanted to get my elite upgrade. So you always age up if you can get away with it without losing the game, right? I mean, that's always kind of the key. If you've got enough to age up and you're not going to lose the game from doing it, you do it, then you get your elite upgrades. So you can see I built a bit of an eco lead. My overall economy is looking pretty good just from the stockyards are really good sources of food. I have gotten at least the first level of gather rate for the stockyards. And I'm going Yam network trade, so, you know, I don't have a lot of floated stone right now. I don't have a lot of stone out there. I've only been able to secure a couple Ovoos. I don't even think I have my third one right now. So, I don't think so, at least, unless it's hiding in my base somewhere. Yep, I take that back. I have 3 Ovoos. So I do have 3 Ovoos, but not a lot of free stone and a lot of upgrades still to get. So I don't go stone armies. I go Yam network trade for more gold income. He does have 4 relics, so I know I'll need something to balance out the gold a little bit here. And I know he's going heavy infantry, so I decided to actually start making some springolds. And also getting horseman upgrades just in case I need to go into a cheaper composition than Keshiks later. So I see he's going really heavy into mangoes, which is always a bit of a concerning factor. And nice little hit here on the villagers. Don't kill as many as I'd like, but, you know, I was very consistent and patient with raiding. So that eventually pays off. And my next stone upgrade I prioritize is the Sarai Lancers. Now, anytime you age up, whether it's Castle Age or Imperial Age, the key thing you want to do, I didn't have enough gold bank here, you want to get all of your elite upgrades. So ideally, I'd also be getting elite crossbow right now, but it's very important for you to get your elite upgrades. I actually get elite Kipchaks, which is a bad idea. You should get elite crossbows here. I don't know if I clicked that by accident, but, you know, I've got the res for it. I'm getting my elite Keshik, which is really important. And I do start making some Kipchaks. But the most important upgrade I'm going to get here is the Keshik. Trying to just be annoying back here to stop him from pushing on my base, but he's not stopping. And so I'm trying to get more stables down on this backside. And I get 3 Keshik every time I produce, right? So more stables out here. Fortified Outpost would be great for production speed. But I'm trying to just rally out a lot of Keshik. I have the resources. I make 3 for every cost of 2. And so it's a very efficient unit that's going to be an elite unit. Now, if you do the age up early, you can always go for some bombard towers, which is actually what I'm going for here. And I see that he's pushing me over here. And this is the gold I wanted to go to. But if this is his whole army, I just go ahead and leak out some units to the next gold mine. I'm lucky he didn't have units stationed here. But if he had been there, I would have had to just retreat to this gold or try to get real sneaky for this one. So, you know, now we have a big fight again. You want to keep your range mass away from the mangonels. Fight within your defensive structures. I'm getting a bombard tower here. I'll have villagers garrisoned here. You try to get your crossbows to focus down the armored units. Try to get your archers to focus down, the spears. You try to bring down the spears before your Keshiks really commit to a fight. I try to kite in and out with the Keshiks. And then I've got a little bit of siege of my own. So you can see what I like doing here is I'll get a shot off, then I'll back up a bit, and the mango can't get shots off. So the mangoes have been trying. He finally gets one. They've been trying to get shots off for a long time here and weren't able to get them. So, you know, I see that I've gotten a decent amount of the spears down. There's still a lot, but I feel like it's time to commit. And so, big mango shots from him, but I needed the crossbows to bring down the elephants, which they've effectively done. And now I just rally more units in for the defense. I've got a lot of Keshik coming out. I've got biology on the way. It would have been great if I could have waited for that upgrade. I move really close so the mangoes can't hit me. and that's a wrap. You know, at this point in the game, Golden Horde, your economy's set up. Once I can ungarrison all of these villagers, my food will be doing great. It's very low right now. Now, it actually shouldn't even be the case with how many villagers I have working on food back here. That's actually very odd. I maybe just built these stockyards, but you can move more villagers to stockyards, get the overgrazing upgrade for more stone. You also want to get the Ovoo ceremony for more, stone gather rate and the stockyard upgrade for more food from your herded sheep. So that's kind of the flow of the game and how it can look like when you're playing some Golden Horde. I just wanted to give kind of what a game looks like overall. And hopefully that was helpful for you guys in your Golden Horde gameplay. I've got a bunch of videos on my YouTube channel that you can check out of Golden Horde games I've played. So without further ado, let's get to the conclusion of the video. It's been a long guide. It is the ultimate Golden Horde guide. And let's get to the conclusion and wrap things up. What's up, Conquerors? Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video on the Golden Horde. Put a lot of time and effort into that video for the editing. If you did get something out of that video, would appreciate the like. Helps with the video's traction. If you learned something and you're not already subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. And that's going to be it for this video. It was a fun one. I like doing occasionally. These take a lot of time, so only occasionally I like doing the big drops like the old Mongol guide. So thanks for watching as always, and I will catch you guys in the next one.